Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching The Walking Dead, Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol, Season 2, Episode 6, which means it's the final boss round of me trying to butcher the entire French language. This episode is titled Au revoir les enfants, which I'm assuming means goodbye infants? I don't know, I actually didn't look this one up. It's probably not that, but it sounds right to me. I don't know. Whatever. Realistically, there is only one way for me to describe this episode. Yeah, it was really weird. And before we get further into the episode, be sure to get subscribed to the channel. My Season 2 review will be out this week, and I'll also be reviewing Dead City when that airs, as well as other shows, of course. But I'm also in production of a ton of video essays that will be released on the channel soon. They're going to be in a style very similar to the wasted potential of Rick Grimes, so there's definitely a lot to look forward to there. And also be sure to follow me on Instagram and X. My usernames are in the description under the like button and on screen right now. So with all that out of the way, let's jump right into this bad acid trip of an episode. Let me start out by saying I have no issue at large with the first half of this episode, except for a couple goofy decisions, which we're going to get into. I mean, as most of you know, if you've watched it, the first half and the second half were basically two different episodes in one because our genius writers truly know how to write to a 6-episode story. That's sarcasm, folks. I'm joking, I promise. The writers are 100% the problem of this entire season. We'll get back to that later, trust me. But anyway, this episode starts out with a really cool conversation between Daryl and Laurent, which is always nice to see. They're essentially talking about the Commonwealth and everything that's happened and what's about to come, and really saying their goodbyes because Daryl opted to stay back due to the plane's capacity constraints. So it's a really nice sequence, and it's also nice that we got to see Daryl singing. I mean, how often do you get to see Daryl sing? I thought that was pretty cool. It's just so funny. It feels so out of place. But whatever. I do genuinely think that Laurent and Daryl work really well together. It's something that drew me in initially and something that keeps me engaged even in this season, even though I've had a lot of problems, as you know, with it so far. And I might butcher this French name too, but Louis Scigliese, I don't know how to say that, is the first child actor. This is the guy who plays Laurent. He's the first child actor, at least since Chandler Riggs, that I genuinely enjoy. He's not only a great actor, I've also just found his presence really strong. And I've never really found him directly annoying nor poorly written at all. Like, sure, some of his story arcs about him being like the chosen one are weird, but it's never his fault, not from an acting perspective, not even from a character perspective. It's usually just surrounding his character that's the problem. But regardless of the fact, I'm glad we got to see the final scene between the two of them, and given the episode's circumstances, I truly hope we do get to see them together again at the Commonwealth someday. We'll get into that a little bit later, but somewhere intertwined with that conversation, we see the Pouvoir people stopping Anna to interrogate her as to where Daryl is with the plane. So Anna gives up the location basically against her will, but she offers to take the Pouvoir people there. And in doing so, Anna leads the group essentially into a horde of walkers, and all of the Pouvoir people get ambushed but manage to escape, but they simultaneously lock Anna in the cell area where all the walkers are, and just like that, Anna gets murked by all the walkers and dies. RIP. I mean, am I the only one who found her death to be like a little cringe, the way she just kind of went like, yeet? Like, I don't know how to describe it, but it was just something about it was a little bizarre, but whatever. Honestly, it felt like a small detail in the episode and one that I kind of forgot happened until I went back and wrote out this video idea. Whatever. Anyway, shortly after that whole sequence and Laurent and Daryl's interaction, we cut to Ash preparing to, let the plane fly. But in the distance, you hear the sound of the remaining Scooby-Doo villains, the Pouvoir people, coming. So the group is left with no other decision but to just start flying despite potential plane problems or whatever. So this is when they have to quickly say bye to Daryl, basically, and it's agreed that he'll stay back and that Carol and Laurent will go back to America. So Carol, Laurent, and Ash board the plane and begin taxiing in this clearing, which is when the Scooby-Doo villains just start attacking. And now, mind you, remember the context here for a second. The group lost all of their leading people pretty much. Losang, Janae, and like 400 red shirts are dead at this point, and they're actively shooting this plane, which is a crucial tool in this time in the apocalypse, in order to sacrifice a child for faith. I just had to point out the sheer insanity of that one for a second, and I can't even believe I had to say that in a sentence, but anyway, they start deploying quads and dirt bikes filled with even more of these red shirts in cartoon supervillain like all black, as if not to make it even more cringe, who start to charge at the plane. So these Scooby-Doo villain people start charging at the plane with guns. They're coming right at it. The plane's like, they're going like this. You know what I mean? So Daryl pulls out his Call of Duty World at War style Dragunov and starts picking off these people in an effort to save the plane. I mean, I guess that makes sense. I don't know where he got his Dragunov, but remember, it's the three of them on this plane. It's Carol, Laurent, and Ash, and all of them are on the plane, and they're actively taxiing down this clearing. Remember that. And of course, Daryl misses a couple shots because it's a fucking Dragunov. What did you expect? I'm joking, but then he finally makes one after a long, slow-motion, deep breath, and he makes one. It was pretty interesting. But when we cut to the plane after this, we see Ash celebrating as the plane continues to accelerate down the field, and he's celebrating, directing his cheers to his right, which is the passenger seat of a plane, as if to insinuate he's cheering to Carol, who was on the plane. But as the camera slowly pans over, magically, Carol isn't there anymore. So you're telling me that as this plane is in motion taxiing down the field while the Scooby-Doo villains are actively shooting at the plane, and also while Daryl has a clear line of sight on the plane and could easily see if anyone, jumped out of it, despite all of the odds against her, at some point of unfathomable time in this sequence, she manages to jump out of the plane unscathed? Ignoring the fact that as soon as she jumped out of the plane, the wing would have most certainly hit her? Ignoring the fact that any of the red shirts could have easily shot her? What? I can't believe that was something we saw on screen. But then, against all odds, she manages to make her way back to Daryl and surprise him by picking off the last red shirt, allowing the plane to finally take off. And now I have to admit, I was very happy to see the plane take off. It was actually one of the few times in this season that I felt an emotion in this season.
This is crazy, but I'm having feelings again. You remember feelings, right?
Yeah, I have feelings every single day of my life.
I mean, really, ignoring the sheer stupidity of Carol majestically jumping out of a moving plane, I did really like this sequence and was glad to see Ash bring Laurent home. It's also a great character arc for Ash, who lost his son, so in return, he's saving another son. I did really like how that all panned out, and I kind of hope we get to see them. I actually hope that that's kind of like the B-plot of Season 3, wherein they get to the Commonwealth, and Rick's there, and Laurent tells Rick about how Daryl brought him here. That would be really cool if that was the case. I highly doubt that's the case, but whatever. Back to the point. After we see the plane fly away, you can hear off in the distance that Losang's henchwoman lady kills herself because she has nothing left to live for, marking the 7th relatively major death this season, and I still don't even know her name. Guys, I know I could easily look it up, I get it, but it's for the plot, okay? In all seriousness, though, I've never felt like they acknowledged her name this season. I'm sure they did at some point in time, but I don't remember hearing it. That's kind of the whole point of why I'm purposely not looking it up and saying or just her name is whoever the hell she is. Whatever. Either way, I'm now assuming that all of the villain arcs just died with this lady because as soon as she gets killed off, nothing happens. All is peaceful. Like what? Like every villain arc, gone, done. What happened to the variant walkers? Nothing. Who cares? Losang with all his people? Nothing. Henchwoman kills herself. All the red shirts are just like, we're gonna go home now. Made absolutely no sense. Whatever. Anyway, that's where the problem lies with a 6-episode season. If you have all these ambitious storylines but only 6 episodes to tell the story, something has to give in the writer's room. You're doing too much with too little, and the writing is directly suffering because of it. And add that, the writing only got worse from here on out, and maybe not worse, but really, really weird. Guys, this episode was literally 2 episodes in one. A conclusion of the story in the first 20 minutes, and a straight-up bad acid trip in the second half. And I'm not even kidding. I'm saying that as a joke, but I'm not even kidding. Like, that's what it was.
What is this place? These are not... Who are these beings? Like a bad acid trip in here.
After the whole plane sequence, Carol and Daryl go to Falou, and in short, basically, they say that they're looking to get back to America. So Falou basically explains that he knows a guy. So just being fully transparent, I had to film this video a bit early due to scheduling constraints this upcoming weekend. So I didn't get to rewatch the episode, and I don't remember exactly how this exact conversation transpired. I watched the leak episode through a meme that doesn't exist anymore, so there's no way for me to go back and get every little nitty-bitty detail of all that stuff, like nitty-gritty stuff. I couldn't rewatch it, so you're going to have to deal with a little bit of a lack of memory of what happened with Falou there, but regardless, after this conversation, Falou, some random new love interest of his, Codrone, Carol, and Daryl all go on their merry way, assumingly towards this connection back to America. I don't know where the connection is. I don't remember this part, whatever. But as they approach somehow in there this ominous tunnel, Falou announces that he's not going with them, so they all say their goodbyes to him and begin approaching down this tunnel. And this is where shit just gets really, really weird. Once they get into the tunnel, it's revealed that whoever was there before all killed each other, and moreover, something in the tunnel's air causes everyone to hallucinate. So again, I'm not kidding when I say it's a bad acid trip. It's literally what it was. But gradually, one by one, Codrone, Daryl, Carol, and those 2 random weirdos all start tripping and all start seeing different things. Carol starts by going off on her own, essentially, because she sees Sophia. So she went to some, other room in the tunnel. It's somewhere entirely different. I don't know. And meanwhile, those 2 weirdos just start attacking Daryl. I think it was over the gas mask or something that I genuinely can't remember. But after they attack him, he's on the ground practically dying. And that's when he starts to hallucinate. But then we cut back to Carol because we have to have her heartfelt moment, which was a theme this entire season of her seeing Sophia. And now when she's tripping, she actually does see Sophia again, which was meant to be a super nice moment. And it kind of was, but it kind of just was stained by how odd and bizarre this whole thing was. Again, this was one of the moments I felt a little bit of emotion in. It was nice to see that.
This is crazy, but I'm having feelings again.
I mean, it was a little immersion breaking or whatever because it was just so out of place, but it is what it is. That's what it was. But then we cut back to Daryl, who again was hallucinating, and this time it's all about Isabel. And it's all about her, basically thanking Daryl for the journey or whatever. And he sees fireflies around her, and then she fades off into the distance. And it was a nice moment. It was definitely similar to Carol's. It was a good moment. Felt a little immersion breaking, but it was still nice to see her seemingly one last time. But then Daryl starts to wake up, and when he does, Codrone, who's also been here hallucinating this whole time, tackles Daryl and is like, "You killed my brother," and starts fighting Daryl. And then as this is all going on, after he's fighting him, and Daryl's like, "Wake up, you're fine, whatever," Codrone just goes, "Ah," and runs away. Runs away. It was so weird, man. It was so fucking funny. It was, it was funny in a way that I just can't, it's sad. You know what I mean? That's how this episode was. And realistically, this back half was just it was a bad acid trip. That's what it was. I don't know how else to describe it. It was just crazy, but that's how the episode ends. They all meet back up, or I don't know about Codrone. Codrone goes running away, which is insane. But he goes running away, and then Daryl and Carol meet up, and I guess they just start going back down the tunnel. I don't know, that's how the episode ends. So it's okay, the first 20 minutes were actually good because they actually finished the story arc of this season. But then this last 20 minutes, what the hell was even that? Like,
what the hell is even that?
What was that? I just can't believe that the writers thought this would be a good way to end the season. It felt like bodily. It felt weird. It just felt so goddamn out of place. And this is the problem, man, with a 6-episode series when you have these ambitious ideas, but you don't want to get to too much because then you got to save it for another season. You don't want to get to too little because then what are you going to, like, you know what I mean? It's really hard to time these 6-episode things unless you have a very, very, very solid script. But when has that ever been the case in The Walking Dead? It wasn't with The Ones Who Live. It so far has been kind of, but not the best with Dead City, but that's getting 8 episodes. And Daryl Dixon season 1 was great because it had a mission, but season 2 was just so fucking misdirected. It's not even funny. It really did feel like Fear the Walking Dead, especially this back half. What the hell was even that? What was that? I can't believe that this is something that happened in The Walking Dead. It's not the first time our characters had a bad acid trip. That happened in Michonne's last episode too. But this one was just distinctively different and weird because this is your finale. Now it's like, I don't have interest to see what happens next. They're going to get home, sure, like that's cool and all, but they left it on nothing. What? Like, I don't know how to describe it. And I know this show has been kind of on fire with their production. They've been going back to back to back, which is, honestly, it's how TV used to be, and it's kind of nice to see we're getting on like a regimented schedule again after the pandemic and all that stuff. That's good and all. So I'm excited to see what happens next because they're on a rampage and they have an idea, clearly. They wouldn't be already having approved season 3 if they didn't. But this season, man, I just don't know how else to describe it. I'm going to save a lot of my thoughts for a series review. So get subscribed for that. And when I say series, I mean season 2. That's what I meant to say. But I'm going to save a lot of my core thoughts for that. But this season just had so many problems. I'm going to preface it with that. This season was all over the place. They tried to do too much with too little. They focused on the wrong people. And even if it's true that Isabel's actress had to leave the show for scheduling or whatever, doesn't matter. The way they did it felt like it was like Madison and Nick Clark being killed off for Morgan Jones. It was a cheap way to do it, and it kind of ruined the trajectory of the whole season. They threw out all these plot points that were such a heavy integral focus of season 1, and they kind of lost the core foundation of what made season 1 so special. It's really unfortunate. I don't know how else to describe it. That was the season. Season 1 was a season I absolutely loved. I thought it was a great return to form for The Walking Dead. I thought it was finally the sign of good things to come. But this season erased all of that for me. This season was not good. I get it. You guys think I'm being too negative. I understand that, but I'm holding my ground here. This season was not good. It had a couple good moments, sure. Yeah, and I felt emotions in this episode, sure. But it's not good. Like I said, when I watch TV, I don't really want to turn my brain off. The TV I personally like to watch is stuff where I'm invested in the story, in the drama of it, in the foundation of its story. That's what separates a good show from a bad show. This show just agitated me the whole time because, you could turn your brain off and watch it, but if you do, it's like, what the fuck? What am I watching? You know what I mean? That's how I feel about it. I didn't think this was a good season of TV. I hope it gets better in season 3 and gets more to like what season 1 was, because that was a magical season, man. That was a good season of TV. It's a shame. Whatever. That's how this show wrapped up. It wrapped up weird. I don't even want to say it was terrible or anything, because it wasn't. It was just very weird. And it's unfortunate because it really put a cap on otherwise a terrible season, to be honest. And it even starts, which I'm going to get into in the review, but it even starts with the fucking title. Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. It's too long. It's confusing. It's contrived. And then the whole season just feels that way too. It's a reflection. It's all a reflection of itself. It's really disappointing. It really is. There's no other way to put it. That being said, I'd love to hear from you guys. Did you like this episode? Did you not like this episode? Are you somewhere in the middle? Let's get a healthy conversation going down there. Again, be sure to follow me on Instagram and X, where I post a lot more frequently than I do here. And check the links in the description for how I make all these videos. All that stuff's there. Oh, and I forgot to mention, while I'm here, the election's coming up. I don't ever want to talk about politics, but I do want to say, because I'm posting this on the Sunday before it, don't give a shit who you vote for, but go out and vote. Definitely do that. Had to throw that in there just in case. Do your part. Seriously, do your part. That's all. Okay, goodbye.